Hey everybody, this is Ellen Argo. I'm super excited to have you today. We're going to talk about some really juicy stuff. We have a lot of clients that we've helped with some pretty insane pain that they've been experiencing. And so this is something a lot of my clients were like, why have I never heard of this before? And how can I help my friend that's on the other side of the country? And this has been my solution. So we had a lot of clients in our doors that are have been suffering for so long, and we have such a different approach, such a different way of thinking of things, that I really wanted to help you guys understand your bodies a little bit better, connect in with your bodies a little bit better. So even if you don't have a Rossiter close to you, which there are not very many in the world, you can have access to at least the knowledge, the ability for somebody to help you figure out what's going on in your body so that you could then advocate a little bit better for yourself, even in the Western medicine world. So, I'm really excited to have you today, and we're going to talk about a few things like why other pain things that you've tried haven't been working and why maybe they work for a short period of time, but they don't last a super long time, including what's actually causing your pain. And most everybody thinks that they know where their pain's coming from, and then they work on that area, and it actually makes it worse. And that's because it's coming from obviously somewhere else, right? And very likely it's coming from the other side. And then this simple natural solution that has worked for thousands of people, we've found another way, the closest way possible to creating what we can do in house as well, so that you can do this alongside, or you can do it all on your own at home without anybody else there. There's multiple different ways that you could go about this, and we'll talk about that as well. Yay. So now this is how to get out of pain in 30 minutes or less without surgery, pills, or expensive surgery. So, who is this for? Before we dive in, let's talk about who this is for. If you are here, you probably fall into one of these categories. You're either a person that suffers with chronic pain and you feel like you've tried everything. That is probably 99.9% of my clients, which could mean you also fall within the rest of these categories. You're an athlete or a very active person who wants to stay pain-free or lightly active, especially if we're in pain, right? If you sit at a desk all day, I lovingly call these desk jockeys. Many years ago, I heard somebody say that and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so perfect. So, yeah, if you sit at a desk all day or deal with stiffness or any discomfort, if you're really tired of quick fixes and want a real lasting solution, or if you're a caretaker for someone that is in pain and trying to help them find solutions. Another one that I didn't list originally was a lot of my clients. There's so many tools and gadgets and everything that are available out on the market. A lot of them are really expensive. Well, I am a huge believer in some tools, but most of the tools we know actually make things worse. So if that's something else that you're really curious about, you're probably going to save a ton of money by taking this course, because I'm going to unfortunately poo poo quite a few of them, because I only want you to do the things that are affordable and don't wreak havoc on your fascial network in the long run. And almost all of them do. Unfortunately and fortunately, once we know. So, most pain treatments don't work long term because the focus is on the symptom and not the cause. So, think about painkillers, for example. We they're just masking the pain, right? They're obviously not fixing it. Our body isn't in pain because it has a lack of ibuprofen running through its body, right? Physical therapy is super helpful, but lots of times it takes months and it doesn't always work. And I say this in a place of deep respect for physical therapy. However, a lot of times they focus so much on strength. And I want you to know that strength oftentimes comes naturally when our body is moving effortlessly through clean movement patterns, right? So think when your pecs, the front of your shoulders are nice and open and your diaphragm is open, think about how much easier it will be to have your shoulders over your hips. Once your shoulders are over your hips, you're going to get less headaches. You're going to get less shoulder pain, neck tension, all of the things that come from having tension. Instead of doing back building exercises to over strengthen something, you're then fighting a big muscle and you're fighting gravity. So these are all things that we're going to go in such great simplified detail in this course so that it's easy for you to go back and just watch it again if you would like. How and also just truly know what it is that you need to do to get out of pain, right? So you can get into the nitty-gritty or you can skip it and just watch it once, get the idea, and then we'll show you exactly what it is for you and your body that works. Surgery. It's super expensive, it can be risky, and it's often unnecessary. Even my clients with bulging discs, I've been able to help them when they're like, I'm absolutely not doing surgery. We did a couple sessions really close together, and with creating space in the fascial system, their disc was, I'm not joking, able to go back to where it needed to be. Of course, this is going to depend on how long you've been dealing with it. There's always those individual factors, but I just want to have you hear this. Surgery is not always the ultimate answer. And oftentimes it leaves you, it always leaves you with more scar tissue, but there are chances it doesn't change anything or it can make it worse, right? So I say always, always, always give your biggest bet. If you give this 1 month every single day of just 20 minutes or less, a lot of these don't even quite even take, I called it 30 minutes in this for this, but you could do it 20 minutes. And if it hasn't completely blown your mind, that's when you know you can go all in. And even with doing that, you're going to create space in your fascia, which means you're going to recover so much better. It's also a great tool if you've already had surgery. So these are things that are completely safe to do if you've had surgery. Think of it kind of like as post PT, right? Chiropractic is another thing that takes a lot of sessions oftentimes, and then your body doesn't hold the chiropractic adjustments. If you notice that your body is not holding the chiropractic adjustments, it's often more effective to do what I'm going to show you today with it. So with chiropractic, the bones sit in the fascial network. Well, if the fascial network is way too tight, it's going to pull the bones and everything else that is within the fascial network, which hint is everything. Then you're just going to completely, when you're not fixing the root problem, it's just going to keep pulling it back out of alignment. So painkillers, a lot of physical therapists, not all of them, some focus on fascia, but surgery and chiropractic are oftentimes not working on the root cause. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. What is the root cause and how to find the root cause? So I feel like a broken record saying root cause, but we're going to target the root cause instead of masking symptoms. We're going to work with your body's natural ability to heal. And almost every single one of my clients if not every single one of my clients, feels a complete difference after their session. But I promise it's not magic. It always sounds too good to be true when I tell people the realistic outcomes that people get all the time. But it's science, and I'm going to show you that. It's science, it's biomechanics, it's using your body correctly without forcing it. So you're not going to be like, I'm not going to tell you to pull your shoulders back, right? We're going to figure out what is the thing not allowing your shoulders to be in that natural position, and what are those things that are happening in your day that might be causing your shoulders to tighten up a little bit more, so we can bring some awareness back into your body and hold that change for a little bit more. This is a big one. Pain is a warning signal. So you might have been having this alert going off in your head for many, many, many years. Another way that I like to think of it, there's two other ways I explain it. So when you think of pain like a car's check engine light, you don't fix the problem by turning off the light, right? You fix what's causing the light to come on. But most treatments just turn off the pain signal, but we're going to address what's actually causing it. Another way that I like to explain it, because oftentimes when we recognize a pain signal and then we turn that one off through the system that I'm going to show you, when we're going to the root cause, then it's kind of like a barking dog. So you have a pain signal, an awareness in your body of something is wrong. Your body's like, hey, alert, please help me here. And we go and we resolve that problem. Well, guess what? Now the dog that's barking in your backyard has silenced, and now you can hear the dog 3 houses down and the one that's a whole block down. So what that looks like is you've had a chronic migraine for a while, but then you forgot that 2 summers ago you had horrible plantar fasciitis, right? So as soon as we resolve one issue, you might be like, oh, there's that thing again that you could have even completely forgotten about. So it's not going to cause pain anywhere, but you might start, as we unravel the pain that was already there, but was kind of still less than the big problem, you might start to notice that too. So in this course, we have it divided by pain and area. So it's really easy. If you have neck pain, you just click on neck and shoulders, and we'll take you through that whole series. So once you've gone through that, then if you feel great and your foot starts hurting, then you can just start following the foot modules. And once your foot feels really good, if you then notice that your knee's feeling a little wonky because you're feeling so great that you're hiking like crazy, well, we have a knee and hip module just waiting for you. So it's really easy to go through that, and it's just you watch the video and you can go straight through. So, but I love this joke. I was in one of these books, I think it's called Great Energy. I think that's where it's from. And she was talking about how she knew that her patients didn't have a medicine deficiency, right? And so I have a note here that says, I can promise you, you don't have a muscle relaxant deficiency or a cortisone shot deficiency. We have a space deficiency. Fascia holds the key to lasting relief. So, fascia is what's controlling about everything. Fascia is like a spider web. It surrounds all the way down to your cell. It's actually how your cells get water. So it surrounds each and every muscle fiber. Your nerves interwove through all the way through your body, and it's held by the spider web of fascia. Your joints are actually tighter knit fascia. And your bones are actually considered connective tissue. Isn't that wild? We used to think of like tendons and ligaments before, but now we're starting to realize how much. We also know that in the fascia is stored emotion. So that's something else that we talk about in this course, if you want to, right? But it is such an extensive thing. Your bones sit in it. So when you think about that spider web, I also like to explain it as like your super suit, right? You're out there fighting the villains and you wash your super suit and then you dry it too long and all of a sudden it's 3 sizes too small, right? Now you're trying to fight the bad guys and you're like throwing tiny punches because you can't extend your arm because your super suit is too small. Think about your super kicks, right? They're going to be little tiny ones because your super suit is too small. So as we continue to move in our body, our supersuit, which is in our internal supersuit, starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller, especially as we use our right arm to fight the bad guys more often, right? So, in the areas that we use a little bit more often, those fascial layers start to lose the fluid in between. And when the fluid starts to get squished out, we start losing the ability for those tissues to slide and glide, which that's why when we go to punch the bad guy, we can only move about a couple inches, right? Does that make sense? Are you able to see that visual? But the way that we work, we've found that in fascia, there are 3 constants. There are 3 things that you always, always, always need. And we will show you all of that in our course. But it is heat. You need your fascia to be warm. Our fascia responds very much like silly putty. If the silly putty is cold and you try to change it and mold it, sometimes it breaks, right? It's really hard to change it. It's really hard to take off your the comic strips with a cold piece of silly putty. But once you warm it up and in your hand, then you can mold it in any way, right? So just remember silly putty for fascia. So the first is heat. The second is compression. Compression is when, most of you have been using the lacrosse ball or the foam roller. The only reason I poo-poo the lacrosse ball especially is it's so easy to get in there way too hard. And then you're actually having your body doesn't know what it is. It just recognizes a huge overuse in that area. And when there's overuse in that area, our body is always looking out for our best interest. What does it do? It lays more collagen. Well, collagen is the natural protein that you find. It's a huge percentage of what the fascia is made of. This is what gives it structure and it gives it integrity. But when we have too much integrity in too much collagen being laid down because we are sitting on our lacrosse ball and just really getting in there, well, it builds up, and that's called scar tissue, my friends. So what we're doing is when we're really tight, we're actually creating more tightness in the long run. So as a fellow athlete that used to love wrecking myself with a lacrosse ball because it felt like the good kind of pain, I'm also going to let you know that you're off the hook. You don't have to use that. In fact, I highly recommend you don't use that because we now know that it's not helpful. It's actually creating more scar tissue, the thing that you're trying to get rid of, and creating more tension as well. So traditional treatments like traditional stretching or massage, they feel so good, right? But both of those are missing things. So traditional stretching, sometimes it can have heat involved, like hot yoga, for example. That's why when you're in a hot yoga class, you can stretch so much further because you have the heat and you have, oh, I forgot about the third one. So you have heat, compression, and the third word sounds really scary. It's called shearing. Shearing is when you have reach and you have rotation both at the same time. So traditional stretching has reach, often it has rotation sometimes, and sometimes it can have heat, but there isn't compression in most traditional stretching. In massage, you have compression and you might have heat, but you are missing the reach and the rotation. So I'm also hoping that in this course, if you don't have a Rossiter nearby, that you can take all this information that I'm sharing with you today so that you can go to your massage therapist or you can go to your yoga class and you can implement these things. I'm also going to have a link for a couple places, saunas, so you can warm up your fascia there as well. I super love that. And the part that you've been waiting for. So, pain relief in 30 is rolling in the Rossiter technique that I have trained in for 10 plus years and taught other people. I've been an instructor for over 7. And how we specifically understand fascia and how we release the fascia. And in all of that, the most important part is how it restores movement. When we release the fascia and we restore the movement, then every single step that you take is actually reintegrating that beautiful, nice, open pattern. So think about this. Your foot hurts. You start taking really shallow steps. What's the next thing that's going to tighten up? Your hip. Your hip mobilizes every single step you take. Is a little stretch. If you have enough space in your body, you're going to be mobilizing, creating a nice stretch through your calf and your hip every step. But once your calf starts getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, it's going to present in your hip, your low back, and your foot at the same time. So, most people actually have that pattern where they have low back pain, hip pain, knee pain, and foot pain. All the low back is on the left side. The knee pain kind of goes back and forth, but the foot pain would be on the left side, and then the front of the hip would be on the right side. So if I explained to you, you're not unusual. That's a very common issue, which is a positive to the barking dog. Is a lot of people say, I have all of these pain problems. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's all interconnected. It's all actually the same exact root cause. So when we focus on that one thing, all of these things are going to resolve all at the same time, which is super exciting. So that makes it extra fast. It's always going to be a natural treatment. There is never going to be a side effect to you doing any of these things. It's kind of like a natural outcome of a cortisone shot. So it's extremely effective. And I'm super excited to show you real proof of how it works. So here's a couple of my clients. This is their very first session. I got their permission. They were happy to share their story with you. And they came in with really, really intense pain. And in that 25 minutes, they were able to drop, as you see in here, this one, she lost 5 pain points. So she went down, I don't even know, that could be more than half because unfortunately I didn't keep the bottom piece of her where she started from, right? So if she started at a 5 and went to a 0, that would mean she lost all of her pain. This guy started at an 8. It says red. So he started at a red, really bad, very painful, and he put himself at this green. Not totally perfectly happy, but almost there. And this guy started at a -8. And he even said he feels so good. He decided he was a green. He went all the way to pain free. And this woman, she started at an orange. She was feeling pretty terrible and was walked away pain free. So, this is obviously just a very small amount of the many, many clients that we've worked with. But yeah, I'm happy to, if you guys want to check us out, see Treasure Valley Rossiter. If you want to look at our Google reviews, we have some pretty amazing ones. I haven't been asking for too many. So it might be a little bit old, but it's still the same stuff. So you would get a good idea of what it is and kind of what outcomes to expect, right? So how you can get relief today, we do have this course. We have it lined out so that you can do it. If you have any questions, if you're like, hey, I can't find this thing, or hey, it would be really helpful if this was there, send me an email. I love adding things. If it's something that would be really helpful to you, I will always add it. I'm a yes person. So just know, yes, the course is just $37. But my vision for the world is that people can feel good in their bodies. They can do things that bring them joy and they can heal, right? When you don't know that you can do things very differently than the way that we've been taught in other modalities, I have to teach. A lot of my students are massage therapists, and we have to unravel so much of their thinking so that we can help people. And that's what I really want to be able to create for you. So it's a one-time payment of $37 and you have lifetime access. And once again, if you have something, if you have a question, if you have an idea that would be helpful, let me know and I can always record. The record button is so easy. So, one of the questions that I get all the time is, can this help my pain? And I would say 9 times out of 10, absolutely. So, like chronic back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, sciatica, if you went through that whole list, there's hip pain, knee pain, ankle, foot, headaches, migraines, sports injuries, pre-surgical, post-surgical. You can always send an email and ask me, hey, I just had the surgery here. Can I do this work? And post-surgery, I would just wait. Post PT, if you're cleared for exercise, you are totally good to go. Like, I wouldn't worry at all. Everything here is super safe, but I always err on the side of caution. So the only thing that I would say I would potentially just put it on the back burner for when you're done is if you've just very recently had a surgery. Even if the surgery was a month ago, I think you would be close to being able to use this, but still going with, has my PT told me that I can clear for exercise for movement, then it's a total 100% game on. You could totally do this with absolutely no concerns, no worries at all. We also have a lot of ways that you can adjust things. So if you are cleared from PT to do exercise and movement, but your body is in so much pain, there is always another way where you can do this in a nice, safe, effective way where you're not going to have to like crawl on the floor and get into funky positions that are really hard to hold, right? There's always a good way to do things. Can this help with arthritis? Oh my gosh. Richard Rossiter, the creator of the Rossiter method that I train and instruct in. And this is very much from the Rossiter technique, is super passionate about arthritis and our ability to help it. So in our training, we joke about itis means inflammation. So arthritis means inflammation of your joints, right? So catitis would be inflammation of your cat, right? So in a really goofy way, we talk about space. So space is what causes inflammation, or lack of space causes inflammation. And when you allow space through allowing movement, then a lot of times arthritis is able to reduce and heal. There have been some studies coming out of Sweden the last 10 years talking very much about this, and including worn down discs. So when you can restore your movement, you can restore the wearing and tearing on joints and discs, and you can also reduce your arthritis. Of course, if you have been arthritic for many, many, many years, it's probably not going to reverse it. But the coolest thing is a lot of my clients, although they still have the visual of arthritis, they don't have pain in their hands. Even with not bursa, they have bone spurs on the back of their heels. They still technically have the bone spur on the back of their heel, but with this technique, with this work, they don't feel it anymore. And one of my clients I'm thinking of specifically was going to Spain, and he wore hiking boots because it was the most supportive boot that he had, shoes that he had at the time. And yeah, he came back after walking 2 weeks in Europe after doing a few sessions of this, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't feel my bone spur at all." So like, the body is so crazy when you just give it what it needs. Truly, it's going to stop building bone spurs. It's going to stop with the arthritis. It's going to stop wearing down on your joints, and it's going to allow your body to heal. Everything, your body, when it grows all of these additional things, is a sign of a bad movement pattern. Not that I don't want to say like you're bad, right? But however, a lack of movement is going to cause all these things, right? I hope that makes sense. Can this help if I've had surgery, right? We just covered this. So absolutely, after surgery, scar tissue can tighten the fascia, and it's going to create long-term pain. This method will release those restrictions, improve mobility, and speed up your recovery. This is also to be said pre-surgery. I have clients do this all the time, and their recovery is exponentially faster because we're going to work on very different complementary things to the pain that they're having. And we go into that in great specific detail on what to work for your specific pain. And it's going to be the opposite of where your surgery is going to be, very likely. And it's going to allow your body to have good, easy movement, release the fascia, so that when and if you do end up getting that surgery, that you're able to move in a way that supports your body's healing and recovery post surgery. But of course, every person is different. Some clients, especially for how many sessions you will need, the part of the reason why I made this course is you can do it as many times as you want. Somebody is going to be able to do like 7 sessions of these in a row. Somebody might take a whole month, right? Especially with consistency. I would say over anything, if you can be consistent with this work, you are going to heal exponentially faster. right? But please just know it is not a comparison game. This is you and your body and you nourishing your fascia, right? So, of course, some people are going to feel immediate relief after one session, while others with long term pain may need a bit more regularity to fully reset their body. The goal is to give you the fastest possible relief and help you stay pain free long term. But I do highly recommend 30 days of consistency with the course. And with that being said, I would very much recommend sticking with one thing for at least 15 days of those. If you are working on something like your low back and your low back's been killing you, and 5 days in, you are completely pain free and you're able to walk like way further than you've ever walked before, and then your foot starts hurting, please do a couple more sessions of the low back stuff. The reason I say this, and we're going to talk about this a lot in the course too, but it's really easy to jump around. So easy to jump around because the pain's gone, right? Okay, now I'm going to work on the next thing. But what you don't know is that we're unwinding things as we're slowly releasing more layers. We're going to create different and better movement. And so when we jump ship from releasing the low back and hips because it doesn't hurt anymore and your foot hurts, well, now we've kind of lost a little bit of the progress where we've been getting deeper and deeper and deeper into that tissue in the hips. And the deep tissue is really where the long term change happens. So, no jumping ship. Give each body area about 15 days, and doesn't even matter how long you've been dealing with it. The pain relief is going to last longer. You're going to feel stronger because things are going to be working together. And then you'll be able to move to your feet and your back pain's not going to start right back up, right? And of course, I'm just giving vague scenarios, so hopefully it makes more sense instead of just saying pain point 1 and pain point 2, right? If you are local, if you are in the Treasure Valley, we highly recommend coming in for an in-person Rossiter session. It's going to be even faster, right? But however, that's obviously limited by proximity. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Going solo. So going solo is just this course, right? This $37 course is going to teach you how to find where your pain's coming from, where to work. It's going to give you exactly what you need to do for that pain thing, how long, all of it. But if you are feeling confused, you can always reach out to us and we will have you do a movement for us. So we're going to be on Zoom and you're going to walk for us. We're going to be able to pick up exactly what's going on. So a lot of times there's this one little thing that's off and it can throw the whole body off. It's like, okay, your ankle is off, right? And so that it would be the only time that if you go solo for a while and then you're feeling stuck and you're not getting the results that you feel like you should be getting, then I highly recommend getting the one-on-one certified coach. We're online or we're in person for the exact same cost, right? So the course is 37 and then it would just be an extra 37 to have the one-on-one with a coach watching your specific movement pattern. I liked that because I thought it was really important for any of those really tricky cases because some people have some tricky, sneaky fascia. So, what should you wear? When you're doing this at home, I honestly would for sure take a hot shower or jump in a sauna, or if it's summer outside, or if you can be active, do something to warm up your body. Whether it's jumping on the stand trainer on your cycle, jumping on your Peloton, taking a hot bath, taking a hot shower, and then you're going to wear a small amount of clothes. So maybe you hide in your closet or you close your door and just be prepared. So the less clothes when you are at your house, the more fascia you're going to be able to have that touch with, and it's going to stretch more. When you are in-house, if you are coming to a Rossiter clinic, we will tell you to not wear as little clothes as possible. We're going to have you wearing things like yoga pants and things like that. And that being said, because we have different tools, right? So we're going to get the same outcomes, but when you are at home using the Yamuna ball, which we're going to talk about, less is more in the clothing department, right? Is it painful? So a lot of people, especially with the Yamuna ball, they're like, but I can hardly feel it. Is it really doing something? And I promise it is. So that's actually really helpful in a lot of regards, I think, because most people don't foam roll and don't use their lacrosse ball nearly enough because it's painful. So the Yamuna ball feels super light work while doing a lot because it's nice and soft, so it's not causing your nervous system to fight back. It's also stretching that fascia as the ball sinks in, and it's not painful. Rossiter, on the other hand, is a little bit more intense. So in Rossiter, we're going to be anchoring the tissue and going in until you're going to always be able to breathe and be relaxed, but it's going to include more movement, and it's just a very different aspect of the same idea. So it's always no greater than a 5 out of 10 on the pain scale. Most people, they look at me and they're like, you've ruined me for massage forever because this is such a good feeling. And the after feeling makes it even better, right? So I get that question a lot. Is it painful? And I would say no, it's actually not supposed to be. It's supposed to be effective so you can feel it in the Rossiter world. And in Yamuna, surprisingly, because it's diffused differently, it's surprisingly not painful at all, to the point where some people question if it's doing anything because it's not what they're used to with the lacrosse ball, because lacrosse ball is very intense and oftentimes very pinchy. Is it safe? Oh my gosh, it's so safe, especially because we're going to be working on the different areas. You're not going to be working on your spine. That's one thing that I think is really important. Most people think every time they have pain in their spine, they want their spine pushed on. And I don't believe in that. What is causing the pain in your spine? It is the soft tissue on the other side, right? So we're going to go, even if that doesn't make sense, that's totally fine. Almost everyone, the first couple of times I look at them, look at me like I'm a crazy person. That's totally fine. You can do that. I won't be offended. But I can promise you that everything that we will show you in this course is completely safe. And like I said, I always take the most precautious road. So if you just had surgery and you're in PT, or if you're not going to do PT and you're post-surgery, as soon as you feel comfortable to do movement, this is perfectly fine. Why haven't you heard of this before? Well, you haven't heard of pain relief in 30 because I am just putting it out there. This is a technique in between Rossiter and Yamuna. These are two things that I got certifications in and instruction. I teach them, right? And so I was able to figure out what it was that helps people. Unfortunately, Rossiter, I'm not sure why it's hasn't gone hotcakes, because it changes every single person I know, their life. And so the only way that we can imagine, me and my clients, I think it's because Rossiter is such a weird word. So a lot of people just don't really remember it. So we're working on it. This is part of how we are going to get it more heard of. I'm one of 12 Rossiter instructors, so that could have something to do with the fact that of why you haven't heard of it. But if you're feeling skeptical still, I highly recommend you look up Treasure Valley Rossiter, just like right here, on Google, and you can look at our reviews. We have won 2 years in a row in our big growing city. I joke, I kind of laugh at myself calling this a big city. It's starting to feel a lot bigger. It used to be pretty small. Anyways, we've won 2 times in a row the best pain management clinic in all of Boise. So we've got some top contenders that we were going against, and we still won, right? So a lot of people are recognizing us. They know how good they feel. They know how fast we make them feel that way, while also giving them so many more additional tools for them. I didn't write this one down. But another thing that's in this course is we have supplements that are super inexpensive. Supplements as in one singular thing, actually, that I deeply believe in. That's super cheap, and I'll send you the link. That's the cheapest and best, purest way that I've ever found it. It's like $6 or something insane like that. And then also debunking the other ones that are expensive and make expensive pee, we joke about, right? Because our body isn't able to process it. So that's another thing that we talk about in the course, is the things that work and the things that don't work, right? So another question that I get, or comment that almost every single one of my clients says, is I've tried everything and nothing has worked for me. Well, I actually found Rossiter through my dad, and my dad had tried literally everything. He was thrown from a motorcycle and he couldn't turn his head at all. And he was so close to getting a neck surgery because he was in so much pain. He was on so many painkillers. He fell asleep in his soup once. He thought it was funny. His wife did not think that was funny. And then they put him on steroids. That didn't work. And he was absolutely miserable for, a year and a half after his motorcycle accident. And then his acupuncturist was, after 6 months, 3 times a week, PT and acupuncture and massage. He wasn't doing 3 times a week massage, but he still couldn't turn his head like at all. And his first Rossiter session, he noticed a difference. After 4, he had better range of motion. And after 12, he said he was pain-free. He went from needing a neck surgery to being pain-free in less than a month. So I just want to throw that out there. And a lot of people don't even need that many sessions, right? And so that's the coolest thing about this course, is you can do this in your house every single day. It's a little bit different than actual Rossiter. Actual Rossiter is a little bit more powerful, and you're working directly with a highly trained coach every single time. But this course, everything that I'm going to show you, has the techniques in it that you can do for yourself in your house, which means you can do it all the time versus having to drive to and from somewhere, right? So that's one of the things that I really wanted to be able to do, is get this in people's houses so that you can easily take care of yourself, right? You can do it while your kids are at swim practice, right? That might be interesting, down on the swim deck stretching, but I would come over and give you a high five. Anyways, okay, so the other huge one that I hear all the time is, it sounds too good to be true. And again, I just really want you to go check out our Google reviews because I can't tell you how many people said it sounded too good to be true, just wrote it off, and then they showed up and they were so mad at themselves for being in pain for so long, just because they'd never heard of it before. And they were like, no, I don't believe that. So please don't let your limiting beliefs keep you in pain, especially for $37. All right, my friends. I hope that wasn't too heavy handed. I'm a little bit too passionate about the things that I do. I can't wait to see you on the other side. And once again, please ask me all the questions. I'm a nerd. I love this stuff. Thank you and have a great night. Bye bye.